This week I got to meet long-time community members Neil Farrimond and John Ittleson as they were both visiting from Portugal and California respectively and came here to Edinburgh. I also got to meet fellow resident Martin McKenna, who does a lot of work with eCam, showing ways to look good on video calls and streams. So I've been on Neil's live stream a couple of times, but this morning we spent the day doing my studio and lighting. So we went from this to... my camera's like not showing up, to this, which you can't see. Hello, look at that. So I'm sort of feeling quite good about how things are looking. A bit frazzled today because I went to the pub to meet people last night. Didn't get back till after 11 o'clock and then still got up at 5:30. So I'm suddenly thinking I should have probably had a nap. This is Square's TV App Lab number 105, where we talk about ways to improve your remote communication abilities. I'm Michael Forrest. I make video pencil, Shoot and CueCam Presenter, among other things like this, as visitors to my studio will see. I've got all sorts of nonsense. So let's start with some updates. I had some time off, which meant that instead of worrying about how I was going to do marketing and thinking about things, I was able to actually think about how things are going to move forwards. So I'm just looking at warnings. This is me and Harvey in the Milan's Natural History Museum. This is him looking at a triceratops with some skepticism. And this is him on the train. I thought this was quite a fun shot that I wanted to kind of show. But yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about how to take CueCam forward among all this and how to basically make it easier to use, give better results, and in a way that lets me add ambitious new stuff in the future. So I've been experimenting. The main part of this is the graphics. How it renders graphics is quite a lot of different systems interacting. So it does lead to the odd black frame here and there, which we don't want. But I've been trying to find a new way to do it, or a better way to do it, and looking at basically every graphics framework that Apple gives you. And nothing quite works the way I need it to, so I'm just planning to make my own new framework, and it's going to be called... it's going to be basically like SwiftUI, but for real-time video. So I'm planning on making a sort of declarative thing where you can sort of write what the state should be, and then it figures out how to render that in a live video feed. So the way that SwiftUI does that for user interfaces, for those of you that have any clue what I'm talking about. I also have some other short-term things for CueCam, Shoot and Video Pencil. And actually, I've got a bit of some Shoot news. So I got an email this week asking about Shoot's recording feature, and I was like, Shoot doesn't have a recording. It doesn't support recording. It's a webcam app. So, you're supposed to record on a computer or some other device. So, I took this screenshot to show, look, it doesn't say anything about recording. And then I noticed, oops-a-daisy. It says it's got a recording feature if you buy lifetime updates. It doesn't say it anywhere else, but it shows it here. So what does this... what does this mean? It keeps losing my my thing. Let's try. Let me just try going back. Yeah, we go. Right. So I'm just going to show you why this happened. Basically, I had this the recording feature was in there from when I worked on it and changed my mind about it. But you see, I sort of decided not to release it because there were some bugs with it, and then it was weird, and there were some bugs to fix, and no one actually really asked for it. So I sort of just said, okay, well, we'll just maybe we'll come back to that another time, but we'll just always, if it's available, is this feature available? Return false. But then it was still in this kind of enum. So this is all the features available. So it was still in this one, and then this conforms to case iterable, which then means that when I did listed out the features available in the marketing stuff, when it goes to lifetime updates, it just returned all cases, which then meant that it ended up in the app, and even has its own a little kind of blurb about it when you dig in. Hi Neil, thanks for joining. I shall be talking and hopefully showing some of your good work today. But yeah, what does this mean? It basically means I'm finishing that recording feature ASAP, so that it's not a lie, especially as people are buying the very expensive in-app purchase might have been expecting it. By the way, when I didn't put it in before because I couldn't think of use cases for it, in the meantime, thought, you know, people have come to me with different things. I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. So, you know, the use cases for recording in Shoot is some editors require in-camera recordings as well as the stream, as well as the live ones on the computer or whatever. You can draw in Shoot, and you know, as you film, so that's actually really useful. If you just wanted to do a quick video clip showing something and drawing around something, Shoot is going to be great for that. And then the browser remote feature, because you can remote control Shoot from a browser, it means you could potentially set it up somewhere and then start recording from like another device really easily and sort of see the progress. But yeah, that's enough updates right now. Let's talk about how we improved my studio today. So I hope you are enjoying how things are looking, but let's start with, so that you can see if this is of any use to you. Can you hear a bit of a ring? I'm hearing like something's ringing in here, I think. I don't think it's just plain acoustics. I think must be an object that is like becoming a bell. But yeah, because I'm in this small rented space with plain white walls, which it's always quite hard to light nicely because the walls don't take colour very well and you can't stick anything up. I've discovered command strips, which has let me put some stuff up, but I tried to hang a backdrop up there the other day, and then sort of like a few hours later it just fell down, and then I was like sewing on because it's kind of hard to deal with. But and then the equipment I'm using is pretty decent. I've got a Canon R6, that's what you're seeing me on, and I've got like a big kind of fill light, and I've got an Elgato key light, coloured stick light thing, and then I'm basically at this standing desk. So if you've got anything like that, then maybe this is, you know, or you want to get anything like that, then this might sort of show you what we're dealing with. So here's how Neil found me this morning. So this is my room. I was sort of trying to reattach this backdrop from the wall, and I had my camera facing this way, and I was just really thinking, how am I going to do this? If I put the grey thing behind me, then I can light it in different colours at least, and it won't be this horrible blue thing that I've been living with. But it did mean sort of like cropping in quite a lot. So I didn't really want to be so cropped in. So we also looked at Shoot as a second camera. You can see Neil kind of filming there. I'll go back to that quickly, and maybe we can do a bit of shuttle wheel on there. We had Shoot, and we were trying out face follow, but you know, this was I don't know that this was you know, everything we could dream for in terms of the image, but you know, we were kind of looking at that, and maybe I'll bring in a second camera at some point. And then some other thoughts. I thought like it'd be quite good to put my ivy in the background. So this is actually like mirroring. This is just mirroring my teleprompter screen, and it's its own teleprompter that sort of opens and closes. So I can sort of show you, like you can see what I'm seeing, but you can't really. It's blurred in the background. And it also has this lamp that I was experimenting with, which I thought, oh, maybe that would look cool, but it's a bit, I don't know, it's just this bright line. So we didn't bother with that, but like and I can't get the screen any brighter. And if I could get the screen a bit brighter, then I think that would be, I think it might look a bit better. But yeah, I'm going to have to look into that a bit more. And then, you know, the big breakthrough here was, instead of having the camera, and as you can see from here, instead of having the camera sort of like, if we go back a few frames, instead of having the camera sort of facing the wall, as I said before, we were looking at pointing it this way, but because the window's there, and these blinds aren't the most like they don't kind of get rid of all the light, and this is all a bit ugly, and so we would have had to figure out something there. But there is some quite fun sort of gear down there, so we looked at that. But then actually the breakthrough was to just point it into this corner, and so I've got a little armchair down there, and I've got this lamp with just like, this is something just like Sharon's scarf to just sort of like damp it a bit, because it's a bit intense otherwise. And I think this is actually like starting to turn into a bit of a composition. And so I thought I'd stick my so we sort of cranked up the depth of field, you know, cranked open the aperture so that we could get this a bit blurrier, and then just stuck this on a box. And I think this is quite good. I need to plug a microphone into it. I've only got contact mics up here that don't, dynamic mics. So if I go down to the garage, I can get like just a microphone and plug that in, and then we'll be able to see some bouncing waveforms there. But I just thought, actually, like, this is quite, this is what we're doing, like teleprompter stuff, so why not have a teleprompter on camera? And then this is just fun and sort of implies electronics and all sorts. But yeah, so this is sort of the composition. Actually, it works quite well when I lower the desk as well, I've seen. And it still gives me a little bit of space to kind of draw up here if I just want to do sort of an ad hoc drawing. So here's what the room looks like now, if you want to sort of see what I'm looking at. So here's that armchair, here's the sort of desk, here's that sort of like shelves, and here's a couple of things on there. And then I've got my fill light here, and then the key light is there. And so we just really dimmed this light down as well. So now you can see, like, there's a lot more. This is going to be on a black background, so that's not going to. So yeah, we'll get into what's going on with my chroma key today in a sec. But yeah, we pulled that key light down, so we've got a bit more contrast. And the stick light was the other thing. So there's a light just shining. If you kind of look at that previous, there's a light here that I can control the color of from an app. And then we just like tried to find a colour that kind of, this sort of like blue to kind of go with this kind of like orange here. It looks really good on the big screen, says Neil. So that's good to hear. So yeah, I'm pretty thrilled with how this is looking. And then the final thing was like actually changing my clothes so that I wasn't wearing something that kind of blended into the background. I think this might be a bit dark, but the nice thing is, like, all my kind of blue shirts were like in retirement because I was always going onto a blue screen, but it's nice to be able to kind of like wear those, and this is quite a cozy one actually, so it's quite nice to put this on today. And that was a tip from Martin actually, because yeah, so I just want to sort of like, I hope this is useful to other people, just to remind you of the things to think about, because they're all things that I sort of forgotten were questions. So like Neil did take a look at my camera settings and gasped a little bit at the ISO being at 4000. So it's now down to like 1250, which means it's going to be a bit less noisy. And we opened up the aperture so that we've got, a nice blurry background. And I think that's nice. So we can have like the jellyfish, and you can't quite see what that is all the time. We also, the other thing that was really useful was we fixed the color in my Elgato prompter. So because when I look at my lap, I have to look at the Mac screen or my other monitor to kind of see the accurate color, because it was a bit washed out on the teleprompter. But it turns out, like, Neil was like, oh, have you downloaded the update for Display Link? I'm like, oh, there's updates for Display Link. So I sort of like updated that, and there'd been like a really recent update that lets you adjust the contrast. So now I'm actually seeing a fairly accurate view of what you're seeing on the teleprompter, instead of always having to like ignore what it looks like a little bit. So that's really nice. Like sometimes, because you get into the habit of not believing your eyes, and then you start to like ignore it, and then you start to just like forget that it looks a bit ugly, or not notice anymore, because you're sort of like not quite trained to think about that. The other thing was, and I thought I had a note for this, was that like Neil sort of walked in front of the camera at some point, and he's like, he lives in Europe, like more tanned than me basically, and he was on camera and he looked all red, and I'm like, I always look too red on camera, but if you look red, then that must be a problem with the camera, not with you, and maybe it's not me. And so we went in and we found like adjusting the white balance sort of got rid of that redness, and that was really good, because I've been really hating how there's the redness to everything. And I think because I'm on the log setting, on the log color profile on the Canon, I sort of forgot that the white balance still matters for that, because you just think, oh well, it's it's log, and then you color grade it. But really all I was doing, I still needed the white balance, and just because all I'm doing is basically correcting it back to Rec 709, rather than like doing any fancy colouring with my LUT, so it still needed to have the right white balance. Neil says, loved the cake, by the way. Well, I shall pass that on to Sharon. We ate too much of that cake. There's about this much left of it, and I do not feel proud of myself. So one thing I wanted to mention is like, why am I looking at this now? Why am I sort of trying to like improve what my camera looks like now? Well, this is because CueCam has a couple of really useful features that allow me to go from this sort of plain background to something a bit more interesting. And so the first one is the blank board feature. So I would have, I always sort of like kept a clean background, a pretty clear background, because if I want to draw something with video pencil, which, you know, I can just grab my iPad and draw something on there, it meant that you sort of can't have too much going on in the background, or you've got nowhere to draw. But thanks to, you know, since version 3 of CueCam, I introduced this blank board feature which just slides out somewhere to draw. So I can draw my smiley face and it just crops me in so I'm still nicely framed, and I can even like change the width of that. So let's just like sort of slide it across and you'll see like my framing kind of follows how wide that is. So I think just having that option, having that possibility, sorry, it's sometimes quite hard to grab the little resizing nubbin. We can like change the colour of that to something else, but I've got my sort of Squares TV hot pink, and it's just really quick to sort of bring that in and out. So that's one reason that I'm able to kind of have a bit more going in my background, because I know that I can bring that out. And the other thing is I've been working on a virtual green screen for CueCam, which so that instead of having to have a blue screen, because I like this when I'm doing a screen share, having the sort of cutout style picture-in-picture. So if I were to share, like if I were to share my, you know, let's just go all screen share screen. Let's just share this display. You see, I'm kind of like the zoom. I think it's like getting the wrong zoom level, and then it's turning off the camera. Okay, lovely. Thank you. This is so. Thank you for letting me demonstrate this, CueCam. Let's try again. Why is it like refusing to show the camera when I share my screen? Always having fun with this stuff, aren't we? I like the sort of overlay style picture-in-picture in the bottom, but with a virtual green screen, when it's doing that, it can just take the virtual, and I sort of know I'm kind of smaller down there, so it's not quite as fussy how it looks. But then when I'm in the big screen, I can just have a normal background, and I think that's going to be really cool. So actually, like with that virtual green screen, it's something that me and Neil and I got on a call with Martin once Martin McKenna, who works with, Neil works with a lot, and they've done a course, and you should go and check their stuff out. I shall put links. But yeah, so we got on a call afterwards, and Martin sort of experimented with some different backgrounds. So on Zoom, he kind of got me to. So this is like I turned on the virtual background, but then I put in like a green background so that he could like pump that through Zoom and Ecamm to try out some different stuff. So he was able to, with that virtual chroma key, like make it look like this, which is, it's pretty good, right? Like, so, and or sort of like this, also pretty good, right? Like, I could probably get away with that. I think I need like a more sort of slick hairstyle to really get away with this chroma key. But you sort of see. You see the virtual green screen is still a little bit touchy, but I thought, yeah, you see, so this is the virtual green screen working, but it's still a bit buggy. I just sort of turned it on today, but I know there's some issues with it, and it's sort of doesn't quite synchronize right just yet. But yeah, and then what you can't see with this virtual background is that it's sort of quite layered up. So this foreground is kind of separated, so you can change what's out the window. And then he's got like some little flickering stuff going on here, and like the clouds are gradually moving. And so I think this is the branding, so you can search for that. That might be quite hard to search for, but. And then the other thing Martin did was like matched, so it puts the same LUT, like camera LUT on the chroma keyed stuff as with the background to sort of like bring the colours into alignment a bit more. So it's just like I could probably start thinking about like a virtual background like this if I wanted to, with this new knowledge, and maybe I add some stuff into CueCam to support this kind of thing. Maybe just go back to a blue screen. But actually, if you do want to sort of see more about this blue screen stuff, then Martin does have a video which. Is it going to load? Yeah, like this. I quite liked this one. So he's sort of like showing you how you can that is the effect you're going to get. Kind of like layer it up.
Blur going on, and you can adjust the blur.
And like just apply blur and sort of build it up. So if you want to kind of go and see this, go and find Martin and have a look at Martin and Neil's stuff. But yeah, I actually like being in a real space. Like, and I think with CueCam, because that nice picture-in-picture just uses the virtual blue screen. So it's sort of like what Apple gives you with the screen sharing, but I think it's more controlled with CueCam, and it's a bit more kind of like designed around the content you're sharing. So I wouldn't really use the Apple one. I kind of would rather use my one personally. So yes, that's kind of like where we're up to, and I'm really happy that I sort of feel like a proper streamer now. I feel like I've actually got a decent looking background. But the only other thing that I might look at is like maybe I can stick something up on these walls so that it's not just this, because you see, like once we get to kind of here, you can sort of see that it's like a bit of an ugly white wall, but like while I'm in the middle, it's not quite as noticeable, is it? It's like it's sort of, you're not really looking at that bit. And maybe if I shine another, I've got another one of these coloured lights somewhere, so maybe I could shine a second one and make that look a bit better. But like, yeah, like what did we do? We found like a corner gives us a bit more depth, right? Like the light in the background, always a nice thing to have. I've got like a couple of things, but not too many things in the background. We looked at the white balance of the camera to kind of solve that redness problem. We looked at the ISO and opened up the aperture to sort of like get more depth of field. And then like just made sure the monitoring was good, and just tinkered with some different ideas until something, and also like massively reduced how much light is coming from this side to create a little bit more of a dynamic image, because like usually I'm kind of, because before this I was sort of like living, I just, because I was like in the green screen, like I was sort of like basically like quite kind of brightly lit, but now we're down, like that key light is down to, actually what this is on, you can hardly tell the difference between on and off, can you? That's on, that's off. It's almost like I don't need that key light, isn't it? But we could like add a bit more fill if I wanted to fill a bit. But I quite like the drama of the shadows, but we can sort of control that a little bit. So I'm just doing this from the menu item. So yeah, not a huge stream today. But I wanted to mention that tomorrow I'm going live with Neil and Martin on their show. So that's this Tech Talk Thursday thing. 5 p.m. UK, so same time tomorrow I will be over there, so just go to youtube.com/Neil Farrimond and we'll be talking about CueCam and all sorts there. So I think that is, oh, here's Neil's channel, so yeah, this is what that looks like, and then there's me, and I have not, CueCam is, I can see why there would be a space there, because the way I've capitalised the middle of the word CueCam, but I kind of wish I didn't put the capital C in the middle of CueCam. On in my sort of like moments of regret, I'm like I don't like I don't like when people do that, and then I just did it without thinking about it, because I think CueCam actually is definitely one word. So I'm gonna try and like figure out how to sort of like a rebrand at one point in the future. It will become one word. I am rambling. Dan said, can you post the links to, and then I'm seeing, but post those links. Oh, these links that, yeah, sure. So I'll copy that Ecamm Academy thing into Discord. So this I'll do in, where should I put this? Just in live stream questions. Yeah, so I'll put this, this is, oh God, LinkedIn. Oh no, maybe that is right. Martin's green tutorial, and except that's weird. Is that actually going to go to the right place? Yes, but maybe not. And then the other one was youtube.com/Neil Farrimond. So I'll just put that Neil. Sorry, I'm putting the links. I shouldn't do this. I should do this in a minute. It's https youtube.com/Neil Farrimond. Right, so they're both in the live stream questions channel on YouTube, on Discord. So thanks for requesting that. And now I've got to try and get my teleprompter. Sometimes you can't get back to the. Yeah, there it is. Yes, John says nice to use the ivy in the background. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Why is it not letting me? I'm just trying to sort of get back to the end of my show. There's always something, isn't there? Right, so also you can come and find us on Discord, which is where I've just put those links, and you might be able to get some help with stuff even when I'm not awake. And I'm doing a bit of a pre-show like video thing, but I think this evening I'm going to go and join my partner and son in the park, in the gardens. So that's what I'm looking forward to now. And then I didn't really prepare anything musically. Again, it's been a long day. But I thought I'd just show you this thing that I got a comment in my inbox on this overnight, and I thought it was quite a fun video. So if I share pick app this, and I don't know why it keeps doing these crazy zooms. Okay, this is again like I just need to rebuild the rendering engine and get all this stuff synchronized. But this is what you're seeing here is a little short on YouTube where I'm using Octamed on my Amiga. So this is my physical Commodore Amiga 1200. I'm in my old studio in 2022, just working on a track on this. So and I was listening to it and I was like, that's quite good. I should get the Amiga out in the garage and do some stuff with it. So here's that, and then I will say thank you everybody so much for. Wait a minute, camera. I will say thank you everybody so much for joining me today. I will see you, and just remember to subscribe to this channel because I'm doing so many videos now. Just there's loads of stuff coming through, and I'm hoping that you're going to find it useful and that it sort of gets you into the way that the things that are possible with the stuff I'm creating. But anyway, sort of back to this, and let's I'll play us out with a little bit of the old Octamed. Quiet. I can't see a volume control.